a minute, £700. £700. And that's not a mistake, it's £700. They're bringing out a PlayStation and it's £700. What does it do? Plays games you've already got. That can't be right, someone's on a wind up. The overbearing fact of the matter is, there's just not that many good reasons to get a PS5 Pro. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's no reasons at all. There's plenty of crap ones, like playing a game you finished years ago because now you can see even more blades of grass stretching out into the horizon on that 8K television that you won't even own until the early 2040s. At that price, for such a frankly incremental performance boost based on what we've seen so far, it's perfectly legitimate to ask, who is this even for? Not your average punter, many of whom are still struggling to justify getting the base PS5. 4 years into a console gen that is notable mainly for its deafening lack of killer apps. I'm pretty sure this thing is mostly designed to be drooled over by tech YouTubers. For the likes of Linus Tech Tips and Marques Brownlee and yes, our very own Digital Foundry to pontificate over its particulars, and sure, it's a great piece of hardware, one that signposts the future in terms of what we can expect from the next round of console hardware, with performance enhancing technologies like AI upscaling being leveraged to give us full-blown ray tracing as a matter of course, without sacrificing image quality or frame rates, the sort of thing that could lead to a genuine revolution in game design. And I'm genuinely not exaggerating about that. Real-time ray tracing has been considered something of a holy grail for video game graphics for almost my entire life. I remember reading about it in computer magazines when I was literally a child, and this might come as a shock to you, but that was a very long time ago. Like, I've got t-shirts older than some of you. I was drinking in pubs, proper pubs, with Skol Lager ashtrays and wee bowls of nuts at the bar when Tony Blair was still popular. Don't let this youthful visage fool you, I am old as f***. Imagine a world where game designers could bank on ray tracing being on by default. It wouldn't then be just a toggle for nicer shadows, you could actually have gameplay that relied on it. A stealth shooter, for example, that encouraged you to check all the reflections in a scene to find enemies, or NPC AI whose visibility wasn't fudged with a simple vision cone, but calculated based on the actual things they could see. I don't know, I'm not a game designer, but I'm pretty sure actual game designers could dream up things that wouldn't occur to any of us if they knew that performant ray tracing was in every box as standard. And so I'm just saying, it's not that I don't appreciate the strides in technology we're talking about here. I've been running a 40 series NVIDIA GPU in my gaming PC for months now, and it's been nothing short of revelatory. Mark Cerny is definitely saying all the right things and crucially nicking all the right ideas from Nvidia. Ideas that PC gamers are more than used to at the moment. Concepts that PC gamers can already apply to a growing number of Sony exclusives. And so, given that this very expensive machine is being sold to us in terms of how well it can run games that already run on the base PS5, and perfectly well, it starts to look like the same kind of proposition as a Bentley Continental GT3R, a decadently expensive attempt to turn a comfortable luxury coupe into a convincing high-performance sports car that'll massage your back with its heated seats and just about hold its own on a track day, which is to say, deranged and quite frankly sitting in a class of its own where it can't compete with anything above or below it in terms of price or power to weight ratios. And if you're a massive petrol head like Mike Channel, the person I workshop that gag with, you'll know that this is the wrong type of Bentley Continental. But unfortunately, there's no games with a Bentley Continental GT3/R specifically in them. And I'm illustrating this whole thing by playing the Xbox version of The Crew 2. So the whole analogy is not really working at all, but doesn't this kind of look like Ghost of Tsushima but in a car? The point is that the PS5 Pro does sit at a price point that most people would consider decadent. And it's an incremental upgrade. Its entire raison d'etre is not to usher in a new era of video games, it's simply to run existing ones and in theory put a stop to people having to choose between fidelity and performance modes by having fidelity mode run at 60 FPS. Assuming that developers don't then include an ultra fidelity mode that's locked at 30. Where does it end? These things are such a moving target, it's enough to make you write off the idea of consoles entirely. And so the PS5 Pro has a limited set of use cases. You are perhaps an enthusiast gamer with a wallet thicker than the average Elon Musk fan who, for some reason, just doesn't like PCs. Or you're a dedicated PlayStation fan who absolutely needs to play Horizon Zero Dawn again at the highest fidelity possible. Or you're Digital Foundry and Sony are just going to give you one anyway. There's nothing here really for me, is what I thought until I saw the reveal trailer for Ghost of Yotei, and once I'd finished scraping my jaw up off the floor, I realised they've got me. The prospect of returning to that gorgeous, sumptuous interpretation of historic Japan meant that this was a day one game for me regardless of when it turned up. I'd have happily waited for the PS6 if that's what it took. It wouldn't be the first series to skip a generation, and I'll happily play this full-blown sequel on the base PS5 if I have to. As if this disclaimer on the trailer itself is anything to go by, it looks like it runs perfectly nicely on the PS5 Sans Pro, albeit at 30 FPS, but this is, of course, conjecture. But here's the thing, a game like Ghost of Tsushima, a game whose entire visual identity is based upon the elements, is the perfect game to showcase the PS5 Pro difference. Yes, in terms of how real-time ray tracing will enrich every drop of golden sunlight that glints softly on every piece of rock, fur and foliage, but also in its enhanced capacity for dense particle systems, that signature guiding wind and how it swirls and sweeps around, gathering up enough visible plant matter on screen that the game should come with a trial pack of Piriton. Based on what we've been shown, it looks like the base PS5 will be perfectly adequate to run Ghost of Yotei, but I'm willing to bet that the Pro version is going to become something of a benchmark for how far console hardware can be pushed. And I love Assassin's Creed, right? That's not a confession, it's just a known fact. I love Plague Tale, Red Dead, Pentiment, all of that stuff. History is the story of us, and I find it endlessly fascinating, and it compels us to always seek tangible, meaningful connections with our ancestors. And so inevitably, I'm an absolute guaranteed mark for Ghost of wherever they want to set it next. The historical action adventure is, for me, the most important expression that this pokey little hobby of ours has ever produced. And inevitably, the upshot of all this is that I've now managed to convince my brain, based on this thin speculation, that yes, I absolutely need another expensive box of conflict minerals in order to experience the next Ghost game at the absolute pinnacle of fidelity. Until a PC version comes out. I'm just going to get it on PC. I'll just get it on PC. It's fine. I don't need a PS5 Pro. I just don't. This is amazing. This was such a great talk, guys. Thank you.